We'll call a meeting of the Hubbardston Cable Advisory Committee together Thursday, May 20th, 2021. I need to, since we have a virtual meeting in Zoom as well, I need to read this to you. Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that would gather in one place, this meeting of the Hubbardston Cable Advisory Committee will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and for other parties with the right and/or requirement to attend this meeting can be found at the hubbardstonmass.us site. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceeds of this in real time via Zoom. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website a comprehensive record of the proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. And that should cover that. So I didn't. Yeah, give me that. Our agenda today is to talk about new business, the hybrid meeting setup, town meeting that's coming up. Board, we have some vacancies on the board as a result of COVID. We've not had any meetings, and we need to find some other meetings, some other people who would be interested in our committee. Any old bird business, and then after that we'll entertain a motion to adjourn. So start. How about new business?
New business. Yes. We are working with the Vietnam Memorial Committee in promoting their endeavor and interview shows, as well as we did the unveiling of the sign on the common earlier this week. And that's about it. I think our next scheduled sort of event to cover is Field Day, I believe.
No, it's the Hubbardston Fair.
Oh, is it the fair? Sorry, I get the two confused. I haven't heard anything about Memorial Day.
I was questioning that yesterday.
So as of Memorial Day, the limits when it happened were too low. In order to have it, we weren't, it was 250 or less, so we couldn't guarantee that 250 or less would show up. Claudia's asked about it, but now with it being so close, obviously it's too close to throw it together.
Right.
My thought was do something on Veterans Day, because that's when the Vietnam Memorial Committee is thinking of having that completed or the funds raised by then. So maybe that could be, a way to also promote it if needed, but still have a celebration.
So, yeah.
So I can just add to that. We started this, we formed a committee under the chairmanship of Bill Shea. Bill has a lot of access to military issues as well. He's recruited myself, and I think we have 2, maybe 3 other people involved who are Vietnam veterans. What we've done is we've, at each step of our, when we first started this, we did an interview, Brittany of himself and myself, to just lay out why we were doing this and what some of our goals were, and that we have that already in place. I think it's actually on YouTube.
Yeah.
And Then we've moved towards some of our goals. We've also now had another, or we're scheduling another interview to talk about what we've done with that to those goals, what process we've made. I think we're probably going to be laying that down next week.
Yeah, it
sometime.
was,
Thursday.
not seeing it on my calendar. Oh, no, Tuesday. Tuesday at 10.
Tuesday. We're doing it in his facility over on Morgan Road. He's got a little place there that he has where he can bring, a dummy with the full regalia of some general who's, well known that he can use his background. So I don't know if you've ever been over there. If you ever got a chance to go over there, it's pretty damn game. Yeah, because that's, you'll be amazed when you walk in there. And so we just this week we've had a group we met with our community, and we put a sign. You've probably seen it. It shows where the monument will go. And it's going to be lined up with the two, not with the Civil War one, but the other two, the World War II, Spanish American War, or one of Spanish American War. They'll be in between, but not directly in between those two, but space so that it's not in, it doesn't cover anything else. It's also going to be, we said that it's going to be of the same dimensions. So it's not going to be one of those big false firing things. We're right now looking at trying to get enough information or be able to establish what we want someone to bid on. To make, we're up front, we're kind of talking about $30,000 bucks, and then get all the engraving. The biggest problem we have, I don't think, is going to be money. It's going to be to make sure we're all inclusive, and that's when I suggested that the cable group get involved, because we don't want to be having families coming back and saying to us that my son or my daughter or whoever it was, or someone who actually was a Vietnam veteran, who just isn't on, most of my Vietnam veterans have given up being on the internet. So we're working hard at trying to figure out how to do that in a good way. We also have the VA representative for us involved. We've had a couple of other people step forward to help volunteer as additions to our committee. We've got 7 people on our committee because our town administrator that's now on active duty really wanted to have 7 people. So we have 7 people, and we each got a job that we're trying to do. So I involved I took the liberty as the chair to get the cable committee started in that, so we can get that done. That's the only other new business that I know that we have.
The Civil War monument, that's missing a tree.
Yes.
I'm not gonna get quotes for that, either repaired or replaced.
Yeah, when I moved to town, somebody told me that it was at the bottom of Britain Pond.
There's also rumor that was in the back of the store.
Yeah. we intend to use the Vietnam War Memorial down in DC as you know, our inspiration. They have this big monument behind that. If you're looking at the memorial itself, and behind you there's three warriors back there with their boots on and their weapons. And,
Wow.
yeah, we're not going to get that and put it up because it'll just disappear. What we're going to do is we're going to have that laser rigged and fixed easily. So anyway, I think we're well on our way to get started. We will be. We have a website. We now have a website and a Facebook page.
Advertising the Gardner News yesterday, which I shared on
Right.
on our
Yeah.
on the town page too.
So, you know, if you've got money laying around, you want to get rid of it, send it to the town of Hubbardston. We do not intend to use any funds out of public. So any other new business anybody can think of? Hybrid meeting setup.
So hybrid meeting setup, Lori had contacted me, saying that the boards were now meeting in person, but we still needed to have the public attending remotely. So hybrid meeting setup thus far has been, as you're seeing right now, with just a computer setup using the existing camera and microphone. Quality isn't awesome, it's okay. So we're looking for potentially a higher quality solution, potentially using the existing cameras and audio system that we have set up in this room. So I have proposed two different scenarios. I'm sorry that this printed out in portrait rather than landscape, so you may have a hard time reading it.
Thank you.
So there's two options. If we're looking at an extremely temporary solution, meaning like the next month or two, we can utilize something similar to this, which is a cam link, which basically we would set up a single camera on a tripod and take the output of that camera and plug it into this. This plugs into a computer, and then the computer treats that as a webcam. So if we could get a higher angle, we could use our existing microphones, plug that into the camera so that we could get good audio, have the microphones on the table. Alternatively, if you wanted a more like sort of permanent solution, if we thought that this was going to be sticking around like long term, then we would wire into our existing system, which would require quite a few more converters. It would basically do the same thing as far as plugging into a computer and having the computer treat that as a webcam, but we would be using the source in the control room and audio and all of that. So it would be multi-cam versus single.
So option one is that box.
Yes, essentially. It's an adapter that takes HDMI in and then outputs through the USB port. And any computer will recognize that as a webcam. Like, rather than using the existing camera on my laptop, then I'll just tell my computer, no, use this cam link instead. So then it would show up just like that does there. Just, you know, we'd be using a camera on a tripod.
Are you using the camera on the computer now?
Yeah, that right now is just the camera on the tripod, the audio, you know, the microphone on that laptop. This would allow us to use a different camera and additional microphone, you know, audio inputs to get better audio.
Yeah, I think the whole idea is that we are able to adequately make, document what we're doing. And looking at this and, the only thing we have to buy is $120 and that's that box right there.
Yeah, it would require that a computer be here. We do have an iMac that we could set up here to be the computer if we wanted to, or if boards or committees come in and they want to use theirs, they could plug theirs in as well. But it would, the board or committee would have to turn on the camera, set the shot depending on how people are sitting, and we probably just kind of permanently leave the microphones out here and they can just plug it into the wall when they're ready to use it. But again, that would be like kind of, that's a very temporary solution. If we were looking to do hybrid meetings long-term, I'd recommend something different.
The church has a system that they broadcast the service through Facebook. Click on the church and it's a live broadcast. There's a camera that I guess they can control.
Yeah.
Remote.
Yeah, so we could do that. That's kind of the second option there. We could use the existing cameras in this room, like the setup how we used to have it before, but then not only being able to air it on the TV channel live, we would also be able to put that on Zoom so that people could attend the meeting.
So you do have money in your budget, obviously, and they'll transfer over. I talked to Kelly yesterday and she had said that there's about 70,000 in there. Obviously, we're not anywhere close to that, even at the higher end of the spectrum. And you still have money because you only allot the 20,000 a year. The concern is, as things change on a daily basis right now with orders being lifted, that this will not continue after the state of emergency is lifted, which should be by June 15th, is what they're saying. So there would be no reason to have hybrid meetings because this was only done because of the state of emergency. So I hate to see, there's part of me that says, well, what happens if they go back in the fall, to this or some sort of, like streaming back on people. But like I said, this, as of right now, it would be really for about 3 weeks is what we're looking at.
I would say that this device would come into play either way. So if you wanted to err on the conservative side, we could go with the cheaper option first. And then if we decide we want to make this more of a permanent thing, we just add on and purchase additional equipment.
You got your hair cut.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay.
Interestingly, my son-in-law is back here. They're leaving tomorrow, going back to Bahrain, but he's the commanding officer of the Naval Air Facility in Bahrain. And he's going through the same thing. I mean, he is the governor. So, they've been on the phone with him. He's been on the phone with Bahrain every single night that he's been here because, the CDC put out these new comments and that the military is just like we are, it has to go down through the, they can say what they want to, but then our president can say what he wants to do, and our governor can say what he wants to do. And then we can say what we want. So I just don't think we know, but I'm pretty sure based on what the CDC said 2 days ago, that they're telling it, their distinct thing was, if you have been fully vaccinated, take your mask. And if the facility that you're going into wants you to wear it, then you have to wear it. But you don't have to go string around anymore. Now, I don't think that's going to bounce down to all of us right away, but I don't think it's going to be here short. So my opinion would be that we do the $130. And as you said, just that, if we do the other one, we got to buy that in.
Yes.
So how long from how long would it take to implement that? So we have a board of selectmen meeting, I believe, coming up on Monday, which is still under the hybrid. Would we be able to have that in place on Monday?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I may not have all the equipment, necessarily, like, it may not belong to Hubbardston, but I
Sure,
can
sure.
borrow from other towns or whatever. We could do it for Monday.
How
And
many-
that way, you know, because obviously they're voting on the town meeting warrant, they're doing important things, and to, you know, to have like a little microphone that barely works and you can't hear and you can't see, you know, I
Right.
don't feel is the best option. And that's why, even though it might only be for a temporary, we want to make sure that we cover ourselves for that temporary basis.
So we're talking about May 24th.
Let's first off, I haven't heard from the rest of my committee. So let's, you guys have any comments?
How many of those do we realistically need? In other words, what's going through my head is it's approximately the size of your thumb. Okay? We've got X number of committees here within town that more than likely, because of the setup of what we've got, will be meeting here in this particular room. Okay? You would hope, and you would like to say that one will suffice, excuse me, for the entire town. But the realistic view is that might be misplaced. That could be misplaced. And then the next committee that meets in 2 days after is scrambling to find that particular piece of equipment. Do we need to buy, in your experience, do we need to buy 2 or 3 to have them stored? So that way, in case somebody says, I can't find it, I don't know where it is, that committee chairman took it and he's gone, we don't know where it is, blah, blah, blah. We need to have more than one stored and ready to go.
I mean, I think that's your guys' call to make.
Based on
If
your experience.
no one's walked off with
Okay. Okay, so what do you think one will do?
so far it has. I mean, this is really new territory. The hybrid meetings have just started, but I haven't had an issue where anybody's walked off with them yet.
Okay.
If multiple boards are going to be meeting at the same time, which has happened in the past,
Well, not so much multiple boards. One meets on Monday, the other
Right.
one meets on Wednesday, then they meet Thursday.
well, what I
That
envision
thing has
is
got to be kept
They're all going to
somewhere.
be in this room anyway.
what I envision is our iMac. I would set it up here with the Camlink ready to go, and I'll have some printed out written instructions where basically they just need to log that computer, have that computer join the Zoom meeting and turn on the camera, and they're good to go.
So we could put that over by the water bubbler, over by the closet, ready to go. All they've got to do is take that will be attached to the camera that's there. All they got to do is plug it in, take it out, put it back where it belongs. And
Yeah,
everything
we
is
could
good.
have it set up so it's like sort of all set,
You
and
wouldn't need to unplug or plug it in, it would already be. on
Would
the
already be
machine
set to
itself.
go.
they just would
Okay.
need to like log into the
Okay.
Zoom meeting.
Okay. So one will,
It's just that computer would have to join the meeting.
so one will suffice.
One
Very-
should be fine. If multiple meetings, if it gets to the point where multiple meetings are taking place, we're gonna need an additional computer, either from the town or we'll have to purchase one. That's where we would incur like a larger expense.
But we do have, if you do it on a Chromebook,
That's what just gonna
a
happen.
Chromebook's capable of it.
I have no idea. I've never tried, but we could test it
I was
out.
gonna say, because we do have like, you know, Chromebooks. or I
Okay,
have an
so
extra
if it,
Chromebook,
yeah,
you
if
know,
it gets to the point where we think that, you know, multiple meetings are gonna be taking place at the same time, then we can test out a Chromebook. And then we'll go from there.
So there is like on Monday, there's a ZBA meeting at 6:30, a select board meeting at 6:30, Board of Health on Tuesday, and open space on Tuesday. So around the same times. But
Right.
again, I think it's, you know, for now, we're still covered under Zoom meetings. So meetings don't actually have to be hybrid. We are giving that option so the board can meet, sign papers. But once that order's lifted, then it's gonna have to be in person, and we're gonna have to do what we did before, you know, where we're scheduling around.
But Tom made a real life commentary on the situation involving federal, state, local, right down the line. What does our Board of Health say that they envision between now and June 15th? Have you gotten any feedback from them? Because in the past, they've been the final arbiter of what we do, whether it's meet in person, 6 feet apart, wear a mask, don't wear a mask, et cetera.
Board of Health meets next Tuesday, so I can talk to Mallory today. But if the state of emergency is lifted and Governor Baker doesn't have the regulations that we can do online, like Zoom meetings, then we can't do them. It doesn't matter what the Board of Health would say that's coming from, they wouldn't be a legal meeting at that point if it's lifted and they say you can't have it. These are only currently legal meetings because of the state of emergency. So
There's-
when he read the statement at the beginning, it says, due to, you know, suspending, it's suspending. So if that suspension is gone, then
Our Board of Health has been,
we have
I mean,
to,
we've done a couple of things, you know, we had a bunch of us got together and had a little farmer's market down here. They have gone right along with the governor, right straight through it. They haven't come up with something different.
right. I mean, they could do different things where they recommend, you know, you're 6 feet apart or things
Right.
like that in here, but they can't say, well, no, we're still gonna have them, because then that's just a violation of open meeting law at that point. And we can't do that.
So just one more question about, so somebody does walk. Where do you get that and how long will it take us to get another?
You can buy them on Amazon, so hopefully like
Okay.
2 days.
Yeah.
You just check and see what they delivery time.
They're doing a hell of a lot better. lately.
Amazon.
Yeah, well, my wife,
It's so easy.
I have on Sunday night, I shred boxes to get in the recycling bin.
So, well, it looks like it's probably a popular item. Like if I ordered it today, I could have it of one Monday.
And we could deliver it here if you prefer, so it's here if you wanted to come on site, you know, whatever, or whatever.
Yeah. But I have this one
No, true.
that I just
Yeah.
kind of keep with me. But if someone were to walk away with one, it looks like it would just take
So-
a few days.
Okay, so
Plus
right
they're
now,
on
we
camera.
actually, we're gonna buy one. And, but that's gonna mean we're gonna have a backup if we have it. Sitting right there.
Yes.
next to it.
Yeah.
Okay, is that good?
So you just need a vote to approve the purchase.
We'll have to have a motion to.
Yeah.
I can't make
Make a motion that we buy a backup for this unit.
Or
By the
just,
unit
you just
itself.
buy a cam link.
So
Okay,
motion
so
to buy.
motion's-
Second,
And I, he seconded it. Gosh. And you even. Maybe this,
man.
you were saying
I
the
know.
real life situation.
yeah,
And it's great to think that everything is gonna run smoothly,
it's not.
even involving these things. You think it's
Yeah.
gonna run smoothly.
Yeah.
There's conflicts that we hear about every day. I just want to make it as smooth as possible
Right.
for us and for her, and try to avoid it right now, the three of us. Any problems that could arise, we can take care of right now.
I mean,
If it
everything
means
you
buying
said was good.
two,
Everything you said was
you
good.
buy two, just get it over. Just have it here, because right now, what's going through my head is, even though it
No one
is
has.
relatively quick, Lori just gave us a schedule of all the meetings that are supposed to take place between Monday and Wednesday of next week. If the unforeseen should happen, and we lose one of those on Monday, Tuesday rolls around, or Wednesday rolls, and we don't have that,
You
Then
could
we-
make a
Look.
motion that in the event that
then we've got
we need
Then
an
we've got-
additional one, that I have permission to purchase an additional one.
meetings scheduled that are either gonna have to,
But again, at this point in time, they do not have to be hybrid. It's
Right.
optional. So come Tuesday, unless something changes in
Right.
the next 10 minutes, come Tuesday, the meeting can still be hybrid or still be Zoom 100% at that given time. After June 15th is when the issue is going to be of what will happen with meeting in person. And then we're in the same boat that we were before, with a meeting over there and a meeting over here, or scheduling.
Right.
out, So,
All right,
In my committee, there's some members, they don't want to be
Yeah.
on television.
right.
And,
Okay, so we do have a motion, we have a second.
Okay,
Any discussion? All in favor?
aye,
Aye.
So we'll just do a roll call vote. Al,
aye,
yes, Gary,
Yes. No, I was only teasing.
oh, no, you're right, I walk away very often with that on my mind, don't worry about it,
Great.
nothing big a deal.
Okay, so that's the hybrid meeting, town meeting. What do we want from town meeting?
so town meeting is
We need to
June
cover it.
first.
June
Yep, June
1st.
first. So March, just to make people aware, Brittany's aware of it already, set up as we did before. I'm working with the CERT team to see if we can have somebody on hand for sanitizing, letting people in, if that be the case. Mask order, we'll have to wait to see what the plan is in place, and I'll also be talking to the Board of Health to see their recommendations over there. About sitting people apart, how far, and, like I said, what they want to see out of it. So,
It's gonna be in the gym.
correct, yes.
Do we know if we want that to be hybrid or
We-
live stream?
As far as I know, we cannot.
Right.
Zoom
As far
meetings-
as people being able to participate, right?
Right.
So just.
We've never had
standard-
it live before,
Right,
right? So I wouldn't see us doing it now because I don't want to give people the, inclination that they're able to join and talk via Zoom
Mhm.
because they wouldn't be.
Okay, great.
So I think we'll
Okay.
just record as we typically do.
Leave
It
as
will
is.
be posted after. If you want to make a vote, you need to show up to town meeting. As always, that hasn't
And
been.
actually, when we first started this, we discussed at great length whether or not real-time transfer of the video is just going to cut the number of people that show up to vote.
What is your quorum?
50.
But there were times when we were,
We have to call people first 5 minutes and get them
Right.
to come. So like I said, I don't want to give that impression that, you can just watch and call it because you can't, or arrange it. So, and I think last year, everything was good with the sound. We can always have somebody, if the CERT team is not there, we can find somebody that can, wipe down microphones or whatever it be in between use. Templeton Town Meeting, that's what they did. Every time somebody went out there to kind of just wipe them down and find out with Brittany what is okay to use on it, so we don't obviously destroy any equipment. And then that's pretty much it.
Wipes are fine, just not
Not
spraying
spraying.
anything.
Yeah, okay.
anything else about town meeting? Okay, we have only 3 of us sitting here. And that's the only 3 that we have on the committee. So have you heard anybody come and talk about, you get people coming in and asking questions about the paper? No.
Yesterday I did get a question, but it was more about the service in town, like the lack of Wi-Fi in the building, especially now that boards and committees have moved to Chromebooks. A lot of they have the connecting issue of it's freezing or things like that, and they can't get on. I did talk to Aaron. Aaron did reach out to, we've been in touch with our IT department, also with Spectrum Cable. And basically what it comes down to is we have a limited feed into this building. So regardless of how fast you try to increase that internet speed, you can only get so much. And with so many, it's just drawing on what we have. And we're just in a void of space down here. We don't have a good service in town. Charter or Spectrum said that, it would cost us, like $1 million to try to get a better internet and speed because they try to run new wires into town. And obviously that's not in our budget to do. I did talk with David yesterday about that as well. And the tower is still on track for going up. It's going to be going out to bid soon. That could increase our speed, but we're not guaranteed that that's,
Yeah, it's gonna go up, but it's.
right. We don't
It'll
know.
probably be some time before the other companies decide they want to put.
So that's
If that-
where we're
if
at.
they- If they come in and they want to put, say, one of these other other than AT&T and those, if they want to put it up, do we charge them money for that? It's our tower.
I'm not sure how the charges go. David would know better. I don't know, because Rutland is actually, I believe, putting it up, so they're gonna be owning it, but I don't know what the town, how the town benefits. I think there is a benefit, but I don't know exactly.
If the Rutland's putting it up, it's not gonna be. Well, it's the
But
money.
it's town land, so yeah, so it, I believe, I mean, he's in here if you want to ask him.
No, they'll figure that out.
So like I said, so that is it's still in process though. But as far as like internet speed, that was one thing I was asked about. I don't think there's anything else. And I mean, you asked about the contract. I printed the contract out, it's here, and it shows it doesn't expire until 2026. So you have, just over 5 years.
Well, I do have a couple of names in mind. Just yet, I haven't talked to them. But I have noticed in some of the other organizations I'm in, that there have been people that in the past we've asked if they would be interested, and they haven't had the time, but all of a sudden, we seem to be having people call. So there are some people that would be good on this committee.
Once the election's over, so the election's coming up on June 8th, we will have some openings, unless obviously we have a write-in. I haven't heard of anybody being written in, like a write-in campaign. So then we would start advertising, say if the Board of Health has 2 vacancies right now, nobody's running. So we would start running into the appointment process for that term, because it would be a failure to elect. Once that happens, we'll make sure that all of our boards and committees are up to date. Everything's current online. That's been a process been going on over here, but I'm going to also start helping with that over that side to get that done. Then we'll have vacancies, and then we'll start pushing that out. We'll also start working on the cable screen of vacancies and stuff like that to make sure that that's up to date as well.
Okay, any other thing about vacancies? Business. I don't know that we got anything.
I would like to get a list. It's been about anywhere from 15 to 24 months since we've met, obviously, all related to the worldwide situation. A list of our existing equipment that we've purchased over the years and where it's being stored. I think we've got cameras, we've got other boards, we've got microphones, we've got cable wire, etc. Obviously, neither one of us stores it in our building. It's not our property. It belongs to the town. So I'd like to get a stronger handle of what we own and where it is. Because I imagine some of that stuff, based on your experience, is going to have to be replaced. It's already got maybe a 2-year life, 3-year life.
The batteries in the cameras need to be replaced.
Okay.
But
what do those go for in general?
I don't know, maybe $50, but I would have to look.
Right. Okay.
They should be relatively inexpensive.
Okay.
It's just when they're not used, they kind of lose their ability to hold a charge.
Fair.
And they haven't been used.
They
So
haven't been used. Exactly.
They probably have some life, but they're not going to last like an hour.
Okay. And based on our initial purchase, come back a couple of years ago, or even greater than that, you were able to direct us into getting some quality used equipment, which we purchased.
Yep.
Okay. So whatever it
That
costs.
is still working.
Okay. So for whatever it costs for upgrades to the cameras, because you've experienced it, and you know what's out there, etc. I guess we're going to have to be falling onto your shoulders and saying, where's our money best spent? Is our money best spent buying new batteries for all this equipment? Or do we say, let's put our stuff that we've got up for sale and put the money towards brand new equipment, knowing that we've got new batteries, new cameras, etc. We're good for 3 more years now, 2 to 3, 2 to 4
So you're
years,
looking
whatever it is.
for sort of like a prediction of
Right.
where we should spend our money next.
Well, I want to know what we've got. I want to know what
Right.
we own.
Yeah.
Microphones probably might need to be replaced.
Microphones are pretty solid. I think,
Okay,
I mean, it just depends on how, I would say that perhaps money best spent, we had explored it a while back about outfitting an additional meeting room with cameras and
Yeah.
audio.
yeah,
That would be where I would kind of push to put some money in. I think that would be biggest bang for our buck. As far as the equipment we have right now, it has a pretty decent lifespan. I've been using this similar equipment in other towns and they do last quite a while.
okay.
I'm not overly concerned.
You're talking 4 years, 5 years, quite a while?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
I mean, basically, the thing is that Spectrum or Charter broadcasts us in standard definition. Obviously, you know, cameras have existed in HD for quite some time. Now we've got 4K, 5K, 6K.
Right.
We're still broadcasting in standard definition. So the cameras that we have in here are standard def. If at some point Charter gives us an HD channel, then it would make sense to upgrade cameras, switchers, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not really like something that's even being talked about right now.
okay,
But if that were to take place, then I would say, yes, absolutely, let's upgrade our equipment.
okay,
But as of right now, I wouldn't put additional money in because we're not gonna get much for it.
okay.
I'm going to be reviewing our contract. I asked for a copy and I'm thinking I'm going to get it today. Well, it's right there. I want to go through that contract for just trying to help. I don't think it's even our business right now, but somebody's asked me to help over on the road that runs on the other side of Common Pond, which is not a town road, it's a private. But there are houses going up out there and you know, while I've told them that they're gonna have to pay for their own cable installation, they're not having any luck getting any. I was just trying to find a contact. But I also know that in that contract, there is some provisions of additional money being sent to us from our charter on a regular basis. And I thought it was like maybe 5 years, 10 years. I'll have to look at it.
So your contract started in 2006.
The contracts are usually 10 years.
Yep, so it started 11/16/2016 and the expiration date is 11/15/2020.
So we're you know well into that, and it seems to me that there was some scheduling of funds. And that John Mason pushed that. So I just want to see if I can. Did that answer your question anyway? Fair response.
Yeah, sure. I mean, like, as long as we get to know what we own and where it is, that's all.
That's a smart thing.
So with outfitting, I mean, that's definitely would be a priority, especially in in-person meeting again. As you know, we have a lot of meetings in town and trying to schedule one around another is impossible, you know, almost. So having a second meeting room, you know, you're not having her come out every time to set up a field camera like we've done in the past, which works. You know, but like I said, that way you have another designated meeting room. And then say if something were to change and we were to move buildings or whatever, all that equipment can be moved.
Yeah,
So
all of these
it's-
cameras can be
Right.
uninstalled and
So
reinstalled.
you just
elsewhere.
have the installation at that point, not the equipment.
Yeah, but going forward, because there is really nothing, as far as I know, really is nothing on the board saying that we're going to be real. These municipal offices are not going to be relocating to another building or standalone facility. So therefore, maybe the way to go, and it's up to the other two gentlemen here to decide, is to stay quote unquote flexible and have portable cameras or one or two if we need them in order to do a select board meeting at the same time as the open space committee is meeting in another place, as the board of health is meeting in another place. So I don't know if
Well,
her
we don't-
staff could come in, get it set up beforehand. And just-
But we don't
we've
have
looked
the
at that before, and
Space.
we've looked at before, and we just we don't have this plethora of spaces that we could actually.
So
move
the
to,
only other space that you could use is in this library basement offices in that conference room, because
Limited
we've
space.
tried the senior center. We have not been able to. obtain that. So
Fine.
so you'd be looking at outfitting one more room
Yeah.
next door, but then you would be able to have 2 meetings on the same night, which would free up a lot instead of trying to do one.
Because they happen very often, there's two meetings at the same time.
There's 2 meetings
Yeah.
on Monday, there's 2 meetings on Tuesday, and we still, even with only 2 meetings, especially with Zoom and meetings being easily accessible now, we'll have sometimes 3 meetings where I'll have to have a meeting put on. They have to end by a certain time, so the next meeting can go on, and so, I mean, we're talking sometimes 3 a night, but we have to cut, we can only limit the 2, so we make it work, or they have to reschedule. So there is a demand for meetings. I don't know what the demand will be when people have to come in, and not be able to be in their pajamas. That's convenient. But like I said, definitely 2.
I know the Lions Club is Boston. We got 50 members. We've lost 2/3 of them. And it's basically, well, nothing happens. So you don't have to have your pants on. We did have someone stand up in shorts.
And you always wonder what's in those cups when they have coffee cups.
Oh, no, I use the Scotch glass. I put it right there. I don't give that.
Don't hide it.
Well, so I'll go through that and these things all, I think at least 3 times we've gone through trying to figure out how to do this better, but each committee is kind of wrestled into their, and each committee has got people in it. They put their own personal schedules around those meetings. So when you tell them they have to change, then we start losing people who want to be on our committees. We need to keep track of this, but we should always have. I think he's right. I think we should always have the ability to have at least a way to do it without. We have that capability. All right. I have nothing else on the agenda. If anybody else got something on it.
I had just had a thought. I don't know if we would want to or not, but there is the possibility of the Zoom meeting that would be on the computer. We could run a cable to that monitor so that it would also show up on the monitor there. I don't know how often you have audience members participating.
So we do, and that might be a better option than somebody looking at a screen, because if somebody raises their hand, because if you've been on a Zoom meeting, you can click a button that raises a hand or clicks a button to chat. So you would have more eyes on it versus in a bigger area for people to see it. So I do think that would be beneficial, depending on what that would cost.
Okay, so that would just really only be an HDMI cable. So, sorry,
Go ahead, listen.
it would be an adapter and then an HDMI cable. It would probably be less than $50.
How strong is our Wi-Fi signal here
yes.
in this building?
Terrible.
I would want to connect whatever computer we're using into an Ethernet port. I don't like to run the Zoom meetings off of Wi-Fi, just because Wi-Fi is, really unpredictable.
Do we need a
Your
group?
computers
they're all
must be
plugged in.
plugged into Ethernet.
Yeah,
So
it's just.
I
yeah,
should
we
be
would
able
just have to find out where.
Yeah.
I think down here we have one.
So the computer should be plugged into the Ethernet.
As an attendee here for this meeting today, are you attending as our guide, or are you attending as the town clerk?
I'm attending as your
Administrative advisor.
in
Okay,
here. 'Cause, right,
so-
I'm back on the board. You got me again.
Okay, thank you. We're happy for it. We are very happy for it. So let me ask, as far as your knowledge is concerned, if she were to get a booster, if she could get the cable to run through here, drill a hole through that wall, put people 6 feet apart, have a meeting conducted here, and have a flat screen TV there in the senior center, broadcasting to people who are sitting 6 feet apart, masks, etc., following guidelines, if they would like, that qualifies an open meeting. Okay. We could technically, you could have
Public
a
meeting, I mean,
meeting
it's a
here,
public meeting, yeah.
public meeting, but people were attending on the other side of the
So-
wall.
So I don't know if
All
you
the
were,
orders in place.
I don't know if you were here, this is going back a few years ago now, I don't know what year it was, when they were discussing marijuana in town.
Right,
We
that's how
had
we had it
such a
set up.
turnout
That's how we had it
that,
set up.
right, we had that as an overflow room.
So that
But
qualifies.
as far as setting up cameras in that
No.
room, they don't want that.
Right, but
Yes,
we had the
correct.
camera here, the
Yeah,
camera was there.
These were the cameras,
Right.
and then basically all they did was turn the TV on, because when the cameras are on, it's a live feed to the cable channel, so people could see it. So they
This
were
room
able
is-
to pop over and see it. There might have been like a
Yeah.
second.
I mean, we
a few
could
second
set it-
delay, but
We could set up the same thing with an additional computer in there so that someone in that room could participate.
But I
Like they
mean,
normally do with Zoom, but it was basically just treating the TV like a giant computer monitor.
Right,
but they would
That
come,
probably
they
wouldn't
could just,
work because
come over.
One of the big arguments was no one in there wanted to be on TV.
no, you
Right.
just see, you don't get
so,
paid, you just see. The way they had it for that
If you set
marijuana
it up as
meeting,
a Zoom, it's gonna,
No, you can turn off your camera.
turn off
You
the
don't
camera.
have to, you don't have to be on camera.
well, that's right.
You can participate via audio.
Yeah.
the other option, like I said, is they pop their head in the door and, you
right.
know, and
Well,
that's what they
couldn't. At
did
that
before.
meeting, they couldn't, it was standing room only, this was packed in here.
They still did, right,
Yeah,
right. Because we didn't have that option, so,
Right.
you know, so it worked. I mean, I don't think that there's very many meetings that we have that kind of turnout unless it's a controversial issue where that was. So I don't think it's really a necessity. I think it'd be, you know, better to put your money into the different options, you know, like you said, that we've talked about the second meeting room and things like that, versus trying to set that up for something that could be. I mean, unless you feel, I mean, it's not that expensive, but like I
Right,
said, since I've been here, that's happened once, maybe twice. You know, I mean, how much work is that to do? Because then you're gonna be cutting, you gotta cut over, so you have to run it through the ceiling.
No, we would
and
just
down to
use,
the
they
TV.
have computers over there, so we could just hook up one of the computers there. Like, as long as they have a computer in there that they can do Zoom, which I believe they do,
Mhm.
and you just run an I mean, you need an adapter, but you just run an HDMI cable to that monitor. And it's just treated as a second monitor for that computer. So
But their computers aren't anywhere close.
they can't
So they have to
run Zoom off of their computers?
They do, but they're over here and their TV's now moved over here. So there's nothing close and
Oh,
saying
okay.
that they would have to run it through the room to get it over to them.
Okay, I mean, that's
Which can be
possible.
done, but
Yeah.
then you run into a hazard of, you know, you have cables running.
It's doable. So, I mean, if we do encounter it, you can cross that bridge when we get there, but it's absolutely doable.
Do we have HDMI ports? I think I have one over next door that's like a bazillion feet, so I mean.
Oh, okay.
I think I do, but
Well, the max is 100 feet, but I would say probably we'd want like a 20 or 50-foot one for in here.
yeah, but over there.
Oh, for over
more.
there, yeah.
Which I might have. I'll look.
Okay.
Once we're done with this, we'll see what we have. We do have some laying around.
Okay.
anything else?
let's see. Make a motion, we adjourn?
Roll call.
Aye.
Yeah, you second.
Okay. You second.
No, he second, I said yes.
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.